Okay, and in tweet to Juan Joink. Beep beep. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Movies Mondays with Matt Plus here on the streaming app. We are talking about Supergirl today, and welcome to part 2 of our Supergirl episode. Part 1, we recapped a little bit about just kind of Supergirl in general and like the 84 movie and now the most recent movie. Once again, here's my good buddy slash pal slash king of all things nerddom in the area, Mr. Stephen Kaarbo. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me back again for part 2.
Yay! I'm glad you stuck around for part 2. Yeah, I was worried there for a minute. Now we're going to talk about the extended Superverse. Yay! And James Gunn and all that good stuff. So let's talk a little bit first about the Man of Steel himself. Superman goes way back, and so many different actors have portrayed him, live action, animation, what have you. So out of all that, I'd say mainly live action. Like, who is your Superman?
That's a tough one because there's so many different. I think it's like your first iteration for most of us at our age is Christopher Reeve, and that first movie is great. Second movie is pretty. I think the legacy gets tarnished a little bit by overstaying the welcome, and then you got Henry Cavill, who is just like the monster Superman. But this may not be a popular opinion, and that's okay. David Cornsweet's my favorite so far.
Oh, wow.
I will rank him. He can pull off the tough part, the Man of Steel part. He can pull off the Clark Kent part. He can pull off each part of it without coming across as arrogant or like he has a sensitivity about him. Whereas I think some of the other actors that have portrayed him can do really good in one part or the other. They can really do good with Clark. They can really do good with Clark with Lois. They can really do good as Superman. I really think that David Cornsweet could potentially go down as the most complete Superman after we get through this universe.
Wow, those are big words. Yes, and there very well could be more behind that. I need to see more of him. I'd say he might be my second favorite Superman, honestly. I'll have to tell you, like, first and foremost, Christopher Reeve. He was. I had to adopt Christopher Reeve though, so I'm gonna get a little controversial here myself. Here, I'm gonna touch on the part that a lot of people are thinking about right now. So there's been a lot of hate online about this movie. There's been a hate campaign about Supergirl in general. People prejudging it and rushing to judgment about what it's going to be. And one of the many people who have not been helping much is Dean Cain, who was my Superman.
Okay.
I grew up with Dean Cain. Like, he was always my Superman. I had not heard of the character until, I hadn't seen him portrayed until Lois and Clark started to air, and then that became my Superman and my Lois Lane with Terry Hatcher, and I watched it religiously every week. So Dean Cain was always my Superman. But as the years kind of wore on and he's no longer playing Superman, you kind of look at his behavior behind the scenes, which isn't very Superman-like. He was one of the many people that was kind of throwing a lot of hate and a lot of shade at Millie Alcock, and I find that unacceptable. That's not something a super person would do. Superman is there to represent and build up the underdog, and especially someone in his own super family. So to be hearing that kind of hate from him, it hurt, a little bit. And there were other things out there as well about him. But long ago, I had to adopt a different Superman that I thought embodied the character more, and that was Christopher Reeve. He was always my next favorite Superman. So it's unfortunate all the stuff that went on behind the scenes there, but this movie isn't a gigantic flop like a lot of people were hoping it would be. It's not making a whole lot of money, but it's not the biggest flop of the year by far, and it's only the first weekend, so we'll see what happens as as it builds up. And you know what? David Cornsweet could very well become my favorite Superman if he keeps on doing what he's doing. He did a good job in this Supergirl as well. So I like that you mentioned David Cornsweet. He's really carving out his own little groove in history as the Superman character. So speaking of him and all things super, like, what are your hopes for the future of the Super franchise?
Yeah, I think getting through Supergirl and then some of the other steps that James Gunn has planned, like moving the bar, I think, into other kind of types of movies within the DCU. So Clayface coming out this fall, more of kind of like your horror type, scary type movie that will resonate with another segment of the population. And then the Lanterns show that's coming up on HBO later this year will kind of expand out that universe. I think give more depth when you have those shows that maybe can dive into characters a little bit more than in a movie. That'll add to that. And then next year, obviously, with Man of Steel, really looking forward to that. I personally thought the Superman movie last year was a lot of fun. It was a shift back to a bright world, not this dark, brooding DCEU that was there, which is I'm not gonna say it was bad or anything. It was just a different vibe. It was just a very dark, brooding vibe. So Superman stood in really stark contrast to that. It was just bright, like the bright blue, the bright white, the Fortress of Solitude being very bright. Like it was just a different vibe, and I think pushing that forward into kind of more of a hopeful universe rather than like the dark brooding universe, I think will be really cool. So I'm looking forward to that and what they bring, what James Gunn and his team brings to Man of Steel next year.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes. So, stark contrast to what the DC EU was. It's not only is it bright and colorful again, I'd say it's fun again. One of my biggest complaints about the Snyderverse is that like the whole thing is just dark and brooding, and that's fine once or twice, but 10 straight years of nothing but dark and brooding, it got to be a little much. And these movies just weren't as fun as I was hoping they would be, especially when they announced Batman versus Superman, and then that came out 10 years ago. And I was all excited, like, oh boy, they're going to be on screen together. This is going to be a fun romp. No, it was anything but. It was like the most depressing, sad, like heavy movie, and it didn't need to be. And let alone they're like barely fighting or anything. It's just all this backstory of random stuff, and the movie was a drag. Like I got out of it and I was exhausted. And I was like, what was that? And I was so disappointed in Batman versus Superman. That is never what 6-year-old Matt would have put his money on for what a Batman versus Superman movie would be. And then, Justice League came out, and the original cut, they tried to make it kind of fun when they brought in, other people and stuff. And just everything else about the universe just got so heavy. I just wasn't having a fun time with the Snyderverse. And so it was a little sad, a little weird, a little shocking when they announced they're just hard rebooting everything. And I was like, oh, I kind of like some of those characters, but in a way I agreed that maybe a hard reset wasn't bad. I'd say most of those movies that came out, I didn't enjoy at all. And I think if you're going to do an extended comic book universe like that, everything needs to be fun. You gotta want to go see those characters. Like, I didn't want to go and see any of that stuff. I didn't want to go see the Aquaman sequel or, the Shazam sequel or any of those, and they didn't do well at the box office. Like, then the actors did as good as they could, but just the whole universe in general wasn't quite the right vibe for me. And now, with what James Gunn is doing, I feel like that's more in tune with what I want to see. So I'm down for it. What were your, I guess, off topic here or off book? What what are your thoughts on the Snyderverse? Like the whole 10-year plan.
So I will admit my comic entry was more darker stuff, like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they're like really killing people, and like the Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke and like stuff like that. So I have an appreciation for it. I do agree that the Snyderverse got pretty heavy, and then it got messy, and uh, Justice League, don't even get me started. That was a challenge to slog through. I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder and his work. I think it's visually compelling and like visually tells a story. But I think, yeah, just that heaviness was almost not needed. It was like really like, well, Nolan did his Batman and it kind of stood alone. Well, we're gonna kind of go that route with everything now, and it didn't really. I don't think it needed to. That kind of had its dramatic feel, almost more like literature, where the DCEU could have just been comic books, in my mind.
I agree. Yeah, oversaturation, I would say, of the same kind of feel. And, I enjoy Zack Snyder, but, sorry guys, the Snyderverse is dead. Hate to break it to you. I know there's a lot of Snyderverse fans out there. You see the hashtag, restore the Snyderverse. What's there to restore? I'm sorry, it's been rebooted. It's the James Gunniverse now. I was also shocked and not too happy that everything was being rebooted or, like not quite sure what to think about it. I was like, oh, I invested a lot of time in these characters. They disappointed me a lot, but I was still like, maybe they can turn it around. But, sometimes just a hard reboot is the way to go with things like this. And so I think it's in good hands with James Gunn, especially looking ahead to what he has coming up. He's got not just Clayface, which I'm very excited for, and then the Superman sequel, which I'm excited for. He also has his own Batman movie coming out, and that's there's no like hard date set on that, but it'll introduce this universe's Batman and Robin, The Brave and the Bold. It's currently titled, and so that's exciting, and I can't wait to see this new Batman and David Cornsweet come together and interact. Like, I think that will be the Batman meets Superman movie that 6-year-old Matt wants to see.
You could do the Justice League justice, like it's actually the Justice League with the Hall of Justice, and you come together and you're working together to fight whatever evil is in the universe. And I mean, that would be the throwback to like the old cartoons back in the day. I mean, that's what I would want to see with the Justice League.
I agree, and I think that James Gunn is the guy to do that because he's cut from a similar cloth of us. Real quick before I forget. Oh man, okay, a little tangent. Talking about cloth. So we have Superman's cape hanging up back here. Fun little fact: the new cape that Millie Alcock has is cut from the same material that Christopher Reeve had for his Superman cape. And so it's little touches like that show me that like James Gunn really cares about this universe, and it's something he's putting thought into. He's not just rushing it out to build a universe that's competing with Marvel, and I think that's where the Snyderverse began. It was like, oh, we have to immediately get to team up movies and get to our own Avengers style thing, and it was rushed and it was sloppy, and it just no, it just that's why I believe it failed. So James Gunn has a clearer vision with what he's going to do, and I trust in what he's doing. So anyway, that's my little tangent about that. Yeah. What was I yapping about before that?
Future of the franchise.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the future. So I'm excited for what he has planned. I know it's going to be, and they're not all going to be winners. I mean, you can't crank out 2 or 3 movies a year and have every single one land. But I think that it's in good hands, and I want to see more of the Superman. I want to see more of what his Batman is going to be, and just everything that is to come. I'm excited for. And so, yeah, that's my hopes for the future of the franchise. A Justice League in the animated style, but not animated. Right. Yeah. So, did we cover it? did we cover everything? Were there any other things that you needed to mention about the franchise before we get into the next thing?
I think we covered the franchise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we covered the franchise. Let's cover you a little bit now.
Okay.
So, Mr. Stephen Kaarbo, like, what do you have coming up? Like,
Well,
we
we might have a little thing coming up, a little thing known as Excalibur Con, August 15th and 16th, right here at the deck in Duluth, Minnesota. We're excited to present this again this year. It's been just an overwhelming response from our local community, from the areas around the Duluth Superior area, as we've gone to other events throughout the state and even outside of the state, because I've been to events as far away as like Atlanta and Tennessee, and people are excited about it. So Excalibur Con, think Comic-Con meets tabletop gaming, so all of your nerd fandoms under one roof. So if you want to play some Pokemon or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, come on down. If you want to go on a scavenger hunt to Mordor and have a Lord of the Rings afternoon tea, come on down. If you want to meet your favorite stars from the Amazing Digital Circus, X-Men 97, WWE, local artists and vendors, come on down. We're going to have all of that. And for folks that haven't been to a convention before, Excalibur Con is a great entry into the convention world, because it's not one of those 70,000 people over the weekend through the convention center herded like cattle. We have a hometown feel. We have events for all ages, from 2 years old up to 100. There's going to be things to do all weekend. It's not just a shopping mall. It's an experience to come in, get to know people, get to know other folks that have the same passions. If you're a Superman fan, you're probably going to find a bunch of Superman fans. If you're an anime fan, guaranteed you're going to find other anime fans. If you're just a board gamer, not just a board gamer, there's no one just a board gamer, but if you're a board gamer and that's your passion, you could do that all weekend long and find others that want to sit down and play Catan or Warhammer or Scythe or Seven Wonders or any of the games that you love, all right there. So August 15th, 16th, Excalibur Con. Look it up on our socials. Go to excaliburcon.com. We are running a special on tickets right now, 10% off on the website. And you don't want to miss out. We have some amazing guests. Take a look at our guest lineup. We have folks from K-pop Demon Hunter, X-Men 97, like I said. Local artist and actor Michael Horse. Some people might not even know he's in the area, but from Twin Peaks fame and the X-Files, as well as a fantastic artist, he'll be there. We have other artists and authors, as well as some of the most creative people that you're ever going to meet. We have cosplayers. Superman might make an appearance. I don't know. We'll see. Supergirl might make an appearance. We have photo ops and things for the kids, Gundam building, painting classes, experiences that you won't want to miss.
And it's an all-around fun time for everybody, all ages. I went last year, and it was one of the highlights of my year, honestly. Like, it's good to see a space like that utilized for something like this, because like we need like a con like this in the area. So thank you for making this happen for us, Stephen. And before that even happens, we even have another movie event coming up, right?
Yes, we do. I think, well, not to put shade to any other movie, but kind of the juggernaut that is Spider-Man. Tom Holland will be back at the end of July, so about a month away. We'll be doing a fan event at Marcus Theater. Again, thank you to Marcus and Sean over there. We'll be tabling there. Jesse will be back. We're hoping Patrick Rollo, another local artist, will be back as well, and Jamie Wild, another local comic artist. So there'll be some giveaways. My opinion is this could be the one. This could be the big one, the next billion-dollar movie of the year. Spider-Man is that much of a juggernaut, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about kind of Tom Holland's view of making Spider-Man and coming off of The Odyssey. He's in The Odyssey here in a couple weeks, learning from one of the auteurs of our time, Christopher Nolan, who quite possibly would be my favorite director of all time at this point. I can't think of another director that I would just say would be above him. You can go down the list from all the way back in his black and white days of Following up to Inception and Interstellar and the Batman trilogy. Hard pressed to find someone with a greater resume, in my opinion, in the modern time. And Tom Holland learned a lot from Christopher Nolan and said, this is what we need to do with Spider-Man to give it weight. And if you've watched the previews, there is a lot of weight and there's a lot of emotion. So I think we're going to get that, not heavy as in dark, but heavy as in it matters. Like Spider-Man, and probably more so Peter Parker, is going to go through this journey. And this is going to be, I think, the biggest movie of the summer.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you yet until we see those numbers. But this will be huge. I mean, this is something people have been clamoring for years. Ever since, No Way Home, which, that's one of the biggest Spider-Man movies ever. So, I'm excited. I've been getting, I've been schooling myself up a little bit for this. I've been rewatching a little bit of the Spider-Man animated series. I blasted through Spider-Noir in, no time at all.
Great show.
Yeah, right? Yeah, Nicolas Cage, just anything.
Born to play that character.
Agreed. Yeah, anything with Cage is great, but then just every frame of that show is so perfect for what it's supposed to be. Yeah, couldn't get enough of that show. I hope that more seasons happen. So, yeah, very excited for Spider-Man. And that's kind of it for that. Anything else we need to mention?
Well, I think just keep an eye on stuff with Excalibur Con. There's more announcements coming up in the upcoming weeks. We've got some community events. We love tying our community together. We'll be at an art and anime event at Barnes & Noble later this month. We'll be at the Duluth Huskies July 24th. We've got the Spider-Man event on July 30th. And then, then August hits and it's full speed ahead to Excalibur Con.
You have a packed summer ahead of you, it looks like. Man, well, yeah, keep checking back for updates. Check Excalibur Con for updates. Check Stephen Kaarbo for updates. There's so much to come in so little time. That's why it's summer. It's blockbuster season, and we love it. So I think that about wraps up this Supergirl episode for now. So let's tease ahead a little bit to the future of what this show has coming up. Next week is a very funny themed episode. I can't say the title here, but you'll be hearing me say it constantly next week. I'm excited for it. It's a movie I've been looking forward to as well, and it's it ranked in the box office pretty well this weekend as well. So those are your little hints for now. So until then, and until next time we have Mr. Stephen Kaarbo again, which will be in no time, I'm sure we'll have you back. Thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'll be on anytime you want.
And any time is probably the best time for you, yes. So that is it for now. Until next week, my friends, stay spooky.